And you're welcome back. Now, a group of newly qualified pharmacists are threatening to halt their horsemanship by the end of August this year if government fails to settle all outstanding issues relating to financial clearance for permanent employment of the group members, as well as the payment of salaries, which we understand has been in arrears for the past 7 months. Well, the group argues that the poor working conditions is making it difficult and life unbearable for many of its members, hence the need for immediate interventions from government, especially the Ministry of Health. Well, Dr. Selim Amevo is a rep of the reps of the pharmacists doing the housemanship, as well as we're being joined by Reginald Sechi Brown, who's advocacy lead, Young Pharmacist Group, GH. They are all in studio with me here. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. But he who knows it feels it, right? Yes. Or he who feels it knows it, whichever way. So let's start off with you. You have a sense of what has been happening over the past 7 months. Just break it down for us, for our viewers who may not necessarily understand what you do and what challenges exactly you're facing now.
Okay, so I'm a newly qualified pharmacist, which translates to I have written the pharmacy qualifying exam, and so qualified to practice pharmacy in Ghana. And after writing that exam, for those of us that read the Doctor of Pharmacy program, we are required to do a 1 year of housemanship, after which we will be moved from the temporary register to the permanent register. Okay,
when you say the register, this is supposed to be a rule for all qualified pharmacists?
So that's all pharmacists.
Okay.
So the temporary register is for newly qualified pharmacists, and the permanent one is what all pharmacists are on after completing the training and the housemanship. Okay. But for our case, what is happening is that within the housemanship period, we are supposed to receive some allowances for the internship that we are having, right? And we were made to start on 24th of January of this year.
This year, right.
Prior to starting, we had some concerns about whether we had our clearance ready, when we were going to get our appointment letters, because we know that in previous years, for previous batches of PharmDs, they had to face similar issues where their appointment letters and clearance delayed for a while. But those delays were just for a few weeks or some 1-2 months. They get their appointment letters and then their salaries follow later on. Okay,
so this allowance that we're talking about is supposed to be paid at the end of every month. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yes,
so from January till where we are today, nothing has been paid.
Nothing.
How have you been surviving as members of this group?
So for some of us, we are still relying on our parents, and it gets harder each day to have trained, to have put your award through school for 6 years, and then we come back after 7 months. You are still going to work every blessed day, and you are asking your parents for money. Some of us have had to borrow money, and we can't borrow again.
Because you're not sure if it will even come.
Sure
and the payback period may be a challenge. But Reginald, help us understand this. I mean, you have that experience. I'm sure you went through a similar process. How long does it take for new, is it a newly recruit or newly qualified pharmacist to get onto the permanent register he's talking about?
Yeah, so when you, thank you for the opportunity. So when you look at the Health Professions Regulatory Bodies Act, 2013 Act 857, precisely we have what we call the temporary register and then the permanent register. Like Selim rightly intimated, what happens is that when you qualify as a pharmacist, you need to do a mandatory 1 year service in a dedicated facility, right? In a dedicated facility. So, and that is per the Health Professions Regulatory Bodies Act, specifically Act 85 and then Section 85 and then Section 86, respectively. So that should take you a year to do that mandatory 1-year service for you to transition from the temporary register onto the permanent register.
But once you're serving, you're entitled to this allowance they're talking about.
Precisely.
So if is that amount paid on a monthly basis, or sometimes due to the economic conditions, you have some variations in the payment?
Yes.
Does it happen?
So there were two. I will try and paint two scenarios.
Okay.
So in my case, I did the Bachelor of Pharmacy. Okay. So SEDEM's batch, they did what we call the PharmD, which is a 6-year program. So Ghana has now transitioned from the Bachelor of Pharmacy, which hitherto was a 4-year program, to now a 6-year program, which is the Doctor of Pharmacy.
So basically, they are doctors now.
So yes.
So it's a course running a doctoral course for those becoming pharmacists, right?
Precisely.
Okay.
Precisely. So that's what, for instance, happens in the United States, right?
Okay.
So it's a doctoral program for 6 years. But of course, these are pharmacists, right? Now, for our case, because we were Bachelor of Pharmacy, we were dealing specifically with the National Health, the NSS. Right. So we were taking about 599 bonus. Okay. But because of the additional qualification, there was an alignment with the Ministry of Health and then the Ministry of Finance that in the case of the Doctor of Pharmacy, because of the equivalence, the increase in the concentration of the program, we transitioned them from the normal B-Farm stipend to what we give the medical doctors, just like the house officers. Okay. They also run a 6-year program. And then they do their housemanship. So this is what led to this transfiguration.
Could it not be because of how new the system is, and probably that's why government may be facing some of these challenges?
No, that probably, I mean, one can cut the government some slack on that level. Right. But for this is not the first, this is not the second time this has happened, right? And in their case, admittedly, government is not in the best of positions. But for young pharmacists, right, to work for close to almost 8 months, absent salary. And the last, I was just checking before I entered the studio, and I realized that you had reported sometime in June that inflation on transportation and food alone is almost about, is it 23%? Now, if they were even borrowing...
And now even that figure has
changed.
Right.
You see, has changed. So if they were borrowing from someone who had something out of sympathy given to them, now that would even be difficult from whoever they are borrowing from.
But let me bring in Salome at this point. Have you made attempts to reach out to, say, the Ministry of Health? I guess that's the supervising agency, right?
Yes, please. So with attempts to reach the
authorities,
authorities, like I mentioned before, even before we wrote the qualifying exam, we asked about it. We asked the Pharmacy Council. Okay. So after that, we have been reaching out to the various stakeholders. And our mouthpiece is for pharmacists in Ghana, is the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, and for young pharmacists through the Young Pharmacists Group, right? So we have been reaching out. We have been doing the follow-ups over the months, and we keep hearing, we are working on it, we are working on it. And last month, I think it was 12th of July, we had a meeting with the stakeholders where Pharmacy Council was present, Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana was present, a rep from the Ministry of Health was present. And they all told us that they are working on our situation with all urgency. After that, it goes dead. And we are still in the same situation.
And that's what you've been doing consistently over the 7-month period?
7 months.
What's your next line of action, and what do you intend to do to solve this problem?
So at this point, when it comes to solving this problem, honestly, it is not within our means. It's not our prerogative to do that. It is up to the various stakeholders to ensure that this problem ceases to exist for subsequent batches. Because we are in this not just for ourselves, but we also care about our juniors who are about to finish school, and we don't want them to go through the same thing. For us, our next line of action is that we are tired. We do not have money to support ourselves going to work every day. So we would want to stay at home. When this issue is resolved, then we resume and finish up the number of months left for the 1-year mandatory housemanship.
Do you have a sense of the number of people involved as we speak?
So as in
your group, yes.
So we are about 203 people.
In various public health facilities
Yes,
across the
yes,
country. So
across the country.
over 200 of you may withdraw your service. Are you mindful of the effect on the health sector?
So we have been mindful of the effect on the health sector for the last 7 months. That is how come we have put up with all the challenges we faced and still went to work diligently. We pick all sorts of shifts that are thrown at us. We pick night shifts, afternoon shifts, weekend shifts. As I speak, I have never had a weekend to myself. I always work because we have been mindful of these things. We care about our patients. Right. We are at a point where we are also hurting. Okay, we cannot wake up each day to go care for patients when we are not even able to care for ourselves. We will not give off our best of services. So at this point, we are just pleading that they do something about our situation. Okay,
Reginald, if we were to solve this problem and put that permanent stop to the delays in payment, where do we start from? And where do we turn our attention to? At least I'm sure that the authorities are monitoring. They may want to solve the problem immediately. So where do we turn that attention to?
So as a matter of urgency, first, there has to, looking at the situation now, we have to find at least some form of stipend for the house officers who have diligently kept their fidelity to the Ghanaian people. Because as our motto as a profession intimates, that's the friends of the human race. Like Selom said, they could have decided to halt their service right from the first or the second or the third month. But their patients lingered on for 7 months and still counting. And even with this decision, it has come at a point where there's no other option to explore, hence this decision. But to avert this from happening in the future, first, there has to be a very robust collaboration between our pharmacy council, where once the PharmDs have written their exams, the letter is immediately sent to the Ministry of Finance, where the clearance will be transparently done and then expeditiously executed. Right. For the monies to be released to the PharmDs.
So we need a long-term policy to deal with what's happening now. But we need to go. Let me give the final minute to you, Selom, to just speak to the authorities and make that passionate appeal and make your case once more.
So this is to the various stakeholders that will be able to help us. We as PharmD house officers say that we have served this country diligently. We have cared for all our patients. And all we ask for is to get our appointment letters that recognizes that we are indeed doing this housemanship, and also to receive salary so that we can happily go to work. That is all we ask for from our stakeholders.
Anyway, Selom and Reginald, I'm grateful for your time.